I have a great honor and pleasure to moderate this keynote speech, which will be given by Gerty Dambury, who is unfortunately not with us today. Gerty, we were supposed to sit on a beautiful sofa together here in the corner, but now we are seeing each other on the screen, and I hope that all technical issues will be resolved and that the communication will be very fluent. So my first task here is to present our guest speaker, guest of honor, Gerty Dambury, who is, as you have already heard, and I'm sure that a lot of you has already known that, writer, theater director, actress and activist, born in Guadeloupe, and who studied in France and nowadays lives between France and Guadeloupe. She founded with some colleagues many years ago, already in the 70s, the first coordination of black women, and which remained a reference for black women who still combat against racism. In 2015, which I think is really very important for her biography, together with 5 other women, she founded the collective Décoloniser les Arts, which aim is both to change representation of black, Asian, people from Maghreb in the arts, and to fight for the better position of these people in the cultural sphere in general. The title of Gerty's presentation today is very challenging. I would say white privilege is not question of color. And I would like, just before giving not floor but screen to Gerty, I would just like to quote one sentence or 2 sentences, if you allow me, from the abstract that we got for her keynote speech, and these sentences are the following ones. Privilege means hierarchy, means that you belong to a certain social class, and means that you don't mind taking part in the exploitation of others. Therefore, being a black or an Asian head of an institution by no means guarantee change in the approach to the institution. I think these are really some very provocative, important and challenging ideas, and I'm looking forward to hear more from you, Gerty, and I'm sure you cannot see, you can see only me, but the room is full of people who are really very eager to listen to you. So, welcome to Belgrade to this conference, and we are really sorry that you are not with us here in this beautiful building. But thank you for being with us online.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me, and I can tell you I'm really sorry and terribly exhausted because I left Brittany. I took the train from Brittany to Paris. Then everything seemed to be all right. I had time to take my plane, and suddenly it became a chaos. I took trains, tramways, buses, and everything because I know it was someone that fell ill in the train, and suddenly everybody was running everywhere. And when I finally got at the airport, the doors of the plane were being closed. And they told me, oh, so sorry, but we don't open the doors anymore. So you miss your train. Okay, you miss your plane. I missed my plane by, let's say, not even 5 minutes. I'm very happy to be with you, but unfortunately, so far I would have loved to visit Belgrade, which I don't know. I have friends who were from Serbia. Unfortunately, my best friend from Serbia died at the end of last year in December, and I think she would have loved to know that I was coming to visit her place. But let's say it's too late. Okay, so my communication is going to be a questioning of my first question, my first sentence. Let's say white privilege is not a question of color. This is the first thing that I read. So I wrote something, and I'm going to read it for you because I'm not very good at improvising. Sorry. So I start with the place from where I speak. Last year, some of us were together in Lisbon. I didn't participate to all the meetings since I arrived late, but I had the feeling that the speakers had mostly shared their experience of cultural activism in the margins of society. How did I feel? Once more, I was the only black person present in these meetings. Another black man who was supposed to come from Mali had been refused his visa, and therefore he served from his country by video conference. I could already notice two recurring problems: being the only black person somewhere, and being put in the incapacity to exchange physically with a foreign activist from the so-called South. No white person traveling inside Europe seemed to have had any problem that could not be solved to get to Lisbon. I am black. I am part of the North as a French citizen. I arrived in Lisbon without any particular problem. I benefited at that moment of a white privilege. Was I conscious of this privilege? I've always been. Has the fact that one of our comrades could not travel changed anything for me? No, it didn't. I protested already. I mentioned the fact in my conference, and I went on doing what I had come for, give a speech. This is the place from where I speak. These facts are not minor ones. Are they in everybody's mind when they leave their home to take part to a conference? I'm not sure. The same way, the fact that thousands of people die everywhere in the seas and oceans close to our homes is not on our mind when we travel from Paris to Lisbon, from Portugal or France to Serbia. This is white privilege. I benefit this privilege, though I'm not white. White. What I want to say. When I wrote the title of my communication, I didn't quite measure the consequences of such a statement. White privilege is not a question of color. Is this true? Can I sustain this assertion? It came out of me in an ardent desire to question the fact that a black man now, at the moment now while we are speaking, is the French Minister of Education. And I wanted to question the fact that this has not changed anything. Ever since this man was nominated director of the Museum of the History of Immigration in Paris, I was irritated. With our collective Décoloniser the Arts, we have been protesting against the fact that no black man or woman, no racialized man or woman was at the head of a cultural institution. We have spent months counting how many racialized persons were at and had not found only one at the time. We have been pointing out the fact that racialized people were generally employed in theaters and museums as security guards and their employees. Probably to calm everybody down, someone was designed from the margins. From the margins, really? No, not at all. Madam Jack is not at all from the margin. Being black doesn't necessarily mean that you are from the margins. The distance between a racialized person who lives and has his relations in the highest levels of society and a racialized person who lives in the margins is enormous. Papa Ndiaye, who is now Minister of Education after having briefly been the Director of the Museum of Immigration, wants to be and nothing to be in the cohort of white privilege. But the question I want to raise is not that of an individual, of his or her efficiency, of his or her responsibility. No, the question I want to raise for everybody is the following. Why do we all want to be part of the hierarchy in this terrible system we are living in? We want to be part of the system of accumulation, and we particularly desire to accumulate power, even though we generally express that we are in search of a system in which exploitation is excluded. When with our collective Decolonizing the Arts, we started our protest, the only target we were aiming at was be part of it. Even though we would never have expressed it as crudely as I do now. Be part of it. Can we say this is not true when we spent so much time explaining that we wanted racialized people to be at the head of institutions without seriously questioning these institutions? But the most interesting part of the question is, why do we want to be part of it? Why we criticize this famous it, and even though we know there is something wrong with it. The critique that we should have had should have been more radical than it has been. I personally think that many things have to be transformed, or that we should build things apart from the mainstream. However, I spent years trying to open closed doors, or I participated in movements which aimed at changing the rules inside the institution. When I travel idle on Facebook, I like, which means that I encourage or applaud at news such as I was designed best writer when it is published by a black woman whom I know. At the same time, I feel guilty to like such news because I really feel sorry for this person. I feel sorry because I have been through the process and I know how difficult it has been for her or him to get the prize, the praise, and the applause. I also feel sorry because I see how someone enters a certain milieu, and I know that door will be closed after him or her. 20 more years before they accept someone of the same origin of them. But less than 20 more years before they say enough of her. You can see her everywhere. Whereas they never get enough of one of them, they never say enough with such or such great white male writer who has been hegemonic for centuries. I also feel sorry because I know this door was opened to answer a particular preoccupation or demand that must be taken out of the lights. And the best way to put the lights out is to dazzle everyone with one violent lamp, and darkness is what furthers. I feel sorry because whenever I write a text or produce a play, I can see the way many people are surprised. They can't believe it. I can see the change in white people's eyes when they meet me for the first time as a writer and the moment they hear my text. There is this indifference followed by surprise. There is this surprise followed by incredulity. I feel sorry because I know this young woman is going to go through all this, and one day she will shout something at them and they will not understand because they showed her so much love. And they will probably say, another ungrateful woman. Be part of it. Now let's try to define what it implies. Let me say it directly. It is what Charles Mills calls the racial contract. I recommend this reading, The Racial Contract by Charles Mills, a book which was written in 1997 and was translated into French for the first time this year, 2023. The book starts with these words: white supremacy is the unnamed political system that has made the modern world what it is today. You will not find this term in introductory or even advanced texts in political theory. A standard undergraduate course will start off with Plato and Aristotle, perhaps say something about Augustine, Aquinas, and Machiavelli, move on to Hobbes, Locke, Mill, and Marx, and then wind up with Rawls and Nozick. It will introduce you to notions of aristocracy, democracy, absolutism, liberalism, representative government, socialism, welfare, capitalism, and libertarianism. But though it covers more than 2,000 years of Western political thought and runs the ostensible gamut of political system, there will be no mention of the basic political system that has shaped the world for the past several years. And this omission is not accidental. Rather, it reflects the fact that the standard textbooks and courses have for the most part been written and designed by whites who take racial privilege so much for granted that they do not even see it as a political of domination. Ironically, the most important system of recent global history, the system of domination by which white people have historically ruled over and in certain important ways continue to rule over non-white people, is not seen as a political system at all. So, end of quotation. So, we're talking of a political system based on exploitation. Totally, clearly, and violently. This system is the one that ruled all my youth in Guadeloupe, a French colony, in which the dominating white people, children of the planters who enslaved African men, women, and children, who destroyed the indigenous societies of the Taino, Arawak, and Caribs, were still the masters of the island. It was obvious that my family, my neighbors, and black fellow citizens did not have any serious responsibility in the ruling of the economic affairs. Importation and exportation were in their hands and still are. So, building your house, eating, buying clothes, or even books today depend upon people who are white, who want to remain between whites, exclude those among them who want to marry a non-white person, and apply a hierarchy based on race and money. It was the case when I was a young girl, it is still the case today. Let me tell you a story. In 2001, I was invited in Avignon at La Chartreuse de Villeneuve les Avignon for a writer's residency. Françoise Villon, who was then the co-director, had initiated things she had called readings at home. So the writers were invited by an inhabitant. We read what we were writing or had written just before coming, and after we had a discussion and some food together. So one day, I read one of my texts called Reflux. The text is about a small black farmer who plants bananas. The farmer is suddenly in contact with a spirit who comes to question him about the changes that had happened ever since he was dead. The spirit notices that nothing has really changed, and he's teasing the farmer. So they gave you the worst name. And why is it that today is the celebration of abolition and you are working, so nothing has changed? After the reading, a woman came to talk to me. She was a French white woman, and she told me that her husband dared not come to talk to me because he was from down there. What do you mean, down there? I said. Martinique, she answered. Where is your husband? I said, take me to him. I saw this shy white man. I recognized a particular skin, the result of too much exposure to the sun. The hands marked by the sun, hands that I had seen during my childhood. I heard the accent, Fleur Creole accent. We shook hands, and he told me that it was only when he had come to study in Bordeaux that he had understood how racism was influencing all his life. He had spent a year in Bordeaux and made friends with black students from, they were brothers from the same island, he says. Then he had come back to Martinique for a 1 month holiday and had understood that he could not be friends with the black friends he had in Bordeaux. They did not have the right to visit him. But moreover, one of his black friends had told him that if there was a violent movement in Martinique and that the whites and blacks were facing each other as in the old times, he would probably kill him without any hesitation. These words, the were words that could be pronounced in Martinique. Friend of his was so different when they were together in Bordeaux. For this reason, this white Creole man had changed his name and decided that he would never, ever go back to Martinique. He would never, ever have any relationship with his family. That was in 2000. This family protect what they have emanated. They protected their power, and the French government helps them do so by giving them all sorts of rights, such as the right to use pesticides that's forbidden on the European continent, at the point that today, 90% of the population of Guadeloupe and Martinique are infested by the chloroquine, and the rates of cancers in these French islands are the highest in the country. These families can show their genealogy on television and tell you how pure their family is. There are no niggers among us, said one of them in a film you can find on YouTube. It is called Les Maîtres de la Martinique, the Masters of Martinique. Now, what about this cultural field? This Saturday morning, before leaving Brittany, I went to buy a few things at the next village. I was listening to the radio while driving. There was a program about Heracles, Philoctete, and Zeus. The title of the program was When the Gods Were Wandering About on Earth. Very interesting. Stories and tales, fables and legends, innocent. And though I just can't listen to this without thinking how many times such legends have been told, written, staged, filmed, danced. stubborn repetition and preservation of one's culture, which is okay. From this, I remember how many times I was asked when I was going to present a play that would give a new vision of the same story. Why don't you stage a Greek play? Why don't you stage Shakespeare? When will you stage your version of Medea? I also noticed that racialized artists in France must have, at some moment in their career, some presentation of an Occidental European canon, be it through dance or theater. Why is it so? Because one must prove that he or she knows his or her classic literature. The classic and the canon are European. I have my own theatre canon. Sylvia Wynter, Louise Marriott, Cicely Waite-Smith, Derek Walcott, Kwame Dawes, Ina Césaire, Errol Hill, Amy Césaire, Earl Lovelace, Trevor Rowe, Roderick Walcott, Miss Lou Bennett, Frank Etienne, Cito Cabé, Simon Schwarzbach from the Caribbean. I have African-American canon like August Wilson, Lauren Hansberry, James Baldwin, Tozake Shenki, Adrienne Kennedy, Amiri Baraka Akali Roy Jones, Susan Marie Parks, Ed Gullitz, Alice Childress, Carlisle Brown, others. I can find myself in African playwright texts like those of Tole Soyinka, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Sonny Labutamsi, and many others. I live in Brittany, and I work at developing a better knowledge, let's be clear, knowledge, full stop, of Caribbean literature. In libraries where there is not one Caribbean book. We had a workshop with a Jamaican writer I invited to my future cultural center, and we had to bring tens of books to the library. Only one library asked me to give him 30 minutes out. It didn't match. This is the real question, the absence of many voices in the European cultural field. One last aspect to develop. Why is it that we meet here today to engage with perspectives, knowledges, methods of learning and sharing, which are on the margins of the current dominant ways of schooling and professionalizing in culture and media fields? I must tell you that I'm very happy to be here, and I thank you so much for your invitation. I'm happy because it means that something I said when we were in Portugal rang a bell. It was so difficult for me to accept this journey to Portugal. I had to send someone else. My friend, Marine Bachelot, was invited. I insisted so much on telling her that she should go, but she couldn't, and she told me, what we have to say must be shared, Gerty. And I love Lisbon. These two things combined to convince me to go to Lisbon, but I was worried. I know how brutal my questionings can be. I didn't want to vex anyone, but I can be different because of all this life I've been through, and I can't be different because of all this life I've been through and all the disillusions I've already met with. Now, how do you define the current dominant ways of schooling and professionalizing culture and media fields? Do you sense that we might have the same definition? Are you conscious of the way this schooling is being imposed on so many populations inside and outside Europe? How do you define the margins? Where do the margins start? And where are its limits? From what point of view can you judge the value of what you are going to discover in the margins? Are we all conscious of the way our look on cult is biased? What is the motivation for this new engagement? What is the aim of it? Can we imagine that we can proceed in our questions without having a deep and profound desire to come and end with all these habits of hierarchy, domination, certitude about the fact that our way of life is the best that could be. I fear numerous pitfalls, the first of them being the temptation of paternalism. Before moving south, it would be important to change the north. It would be important for all of us to change our thinking, what and why men in the north, even though we feel that we should, between brackets, help the south. Why do we feel that we must help the south? Is it to drive them in the same direction than the north? As far as I'm concerned, I have a fantastic job to do on myself. Before writing that white privilege is not a question of color, which I really would love to assert, I must come back to reality and assume that what I long for is not about to happen. I pronounce this assertion because I'm probably still under the influence of the ideal of humanism, like Césaire or Damas or Glisson. But this ideal of humanism has developed on the basis of a racialized relationships to the other. And we cannot have a true discussion if we remain in the conventional framework. One last quotation of Charles Mills. He says, the recent advent of discussion of multiculturalism is welcome. But what needs to be appreciated is that there are issues of political power, not just mutual misconceptions resulting from the clash of culture. To the extent that race is assimilated to ethnicity, white supremacy remains unmentioned. And the historic racial contract, prescribed connection between race and personhood is ignored. These discussions, in my opinion, call to make the necessary drastic theoretical correction. Thus, they still take place within a conventional, if expanded, framework. If I'm right, what needs to be recognized is that side by side with the existing political structures familiar to all, the standard subject matter of political theory, absolutism and constitutionalism, dictatorship and democracy, capitalism and socialism, there has always been an unnamed global political structure, global white supremacy. And this struggle, in part, struggle against this system. I would probably add Christianity to this analysis. But racism is really a basis when you think of the way people who fled the war between Ukraine and Russia were welcomed in France, whereas so many other people died in the Mediterranean. What so many French people said was, we can welcome them because they look like us. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerty, very much. Now we are opening a discussion, and I will start with this discussion. And just to give you a few technical ideas or proposals, of course, you're more than invited to ask questions as well. But I think that Gerty would hardly hear you if you speak from there. So there are two options: either you can come here and ask the question, or I will repeat your question for Gerty because she could not hear you down there. So is it okay with you? Yeah. So if you feel like stepping out, it's perfect. If not, I will try to be your translator, so to say, for this technical devices that we need here. Gerty, thank you once again for a fascinating talk and really very inspiring talk. I would like to start from one of your first theses, or you said that you would like to clarify the position from which, the perspective from which you are talking. And this inspired me to put your presentation in a broad theoretical, cultural, ideological frame, which is very present in contemporary performing arts, and I imagine in other arts as well. And this is, to cut the long story short, this is the question of who is allowed or supposed to speak for whom. So the justification of the position from which we speak, and it does not refer only to racial, ethnical differences, but sexual, gender, and other kinds of differences. So could you comment upon this idea, which is, as I said, very present, this demand to question position from which somebody is speaking in the name of others, and it leads us, as a matter of fact, as a kind of consequence of this debate, to the very notion of representation. How do we represent otherness on the stage, in the books, or on the screen?
Okay. Well, this is a very, very real question, of course. Yes. You mentioned the different fields in which the question can be raised, be it gender, sexuality, or racial or ethnic, whatever. As far as I'm concerned, I have these two aspects of my activism, which is feminism and
racial issues,
fighting racism, and of course, when I started my speech, I told you that I was benefiting part of white privilege. I think it's important to be conscious of this, and I think it is necessary for me to say this so that it can open a certain number of questions in other people, because most of the time we are not conscious of the place from where we speak. Being a woman, of course, being a feminist, of course, when I represent on women on the stage, for example, there is something important. Is that it is that I represent black people, so the black women. So the two things are mixed. It's a permanent preoccupation, and so when I watch at the way black women are represented in theater, in stage, in film, and so on, I can have a critique of the way they are represented. Well, things are changing, so that we are not only devoted to represent, how do you say, servants, like in Autant n'importe le monde, or whatever. We're not only working in hospitals, because there's a book that was written by a collective of black actresses, the name of which is Black is not my noir n'est pas mon métier. Black is not my
My
career.
job, my career, yeah.
Is not my career, okay? Because when we are invited, most of the time we are invited to play to be in a play or to be in a film, we are invited as blacks, okay? So automatically, well, they need to have black women or some black man somewhere, or Asian or people from Maghreb, and automatically this invitation goes with a certain number of prejudice,
Prejudices,
okay?
yes.
That is, you are prejudiced. You look like this, or you speak like this, or you act like this, or you live there, you live here or there. And this is something you have to fight against all the time. Another thing you have to fight against is that you are poor. You come from Africa, and coming from Africa, you are naturally poor. That's why at the beginning I was speaking of this minister and saying he's not coming from the margin. Black doesn't mean that you are necessarily poor. And you are fleeing or trying to escape a war, or you are dying in the Mediterranean, which is true. But we are not only dying in the Mediterranean. It happens to us by millions, but we are also people who were born in France, who are French, who went to school with everyone, the same thing as everyone, and who can occupy the same places, who should be able to occupy, to have same places everywhere. And society does not respect this, the fact that everybody should be equal and should be represented everywhere. And the arts, theater, cinema, does not help society to express that everyone is equal. This is what we have to do as artists. We don't, it is not the role of the artist is not to come, well, we are fighting for freedom. It's not it's not. But we can be useful to present situations and positions and feelings and emotions and so on, which are general to everybody, whatever their origin, their color, their social origin also, let's not forget this aspect, can be.
Thank you very much. Are there already some questions from the audience? If not, I will continue, and then you have a question. Okay. So we have already a question from the audience.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Gert, do you hear our guest? Do you hear him?
Hello?
It's not clear.
Okay, please come here. Yeah. Ne čujem. A i ne čujem.
Stani tu ispred ekrana.
Hello?
Hello.
My name is Igor. I'm originally from Russia, but last 3 years live here, Montenegro, Balkans. And when I hear your question, why do we want to be part of this system of inequality, injustice based on violence, an answer immediately came to me, and I wanted to ask you what do you think about that. And if we imagine ourselves as a part of the system, like a pyramid of inequalities and violence, and in the bottom of the pyramid there are thousands and millions of living beings being killed at this very moment as a result of ecocide that is going on. And then why do I want to be part of this system even if I don't like it? Because if I imagine myself outside of this system, like if we stay away or we go away, then there is a big chance to be conquered, colonized, and exploited by this system. So I suppose that it's fear in me that makes me part of this system that I don't like. How do you resonate or not with that? That is my question.
I understand. Yes, I understand what you say. Don't go away. Stay with me. I understand your
Just a few moments.
Your what you reflect about what I say. What I say is not we have to go away. Okay? For example, I feel it is very important to do little things, small things that can convince people that this system can be changed. It's something we have to do little by little, because we're not going. There is the big day, the big tomorrow, the big revolutionary tomorrow will not come. Okay, it's not the big day. Let's not wait for the big day. Okay, but for example, I give you an example. I work with a group of comedians, not comedians, of actors, actresses, singers, musicians. And we bought a place in Brittany where we organized a Caribbean festival. This Caribbean festival, we have no money at all, okay? I put all my money in this. I can't even buy a train ticket now. But we have no money at all and no help from nobody, not even the French government, nothing. But for 3 days, we managed to have people, artists, coming from Guadeloupe, because they put their own money in the story. Coming from Guadeloupe, coming from Jamaica, coming from Great Britain, but they are Caribbean. We managed to put them together, to go to libraries and places, discuss with the people, show them that there are writers who write from another point of view, to speak of them also, to speak of them, Bretons in Brittany, but from another point of view. See what I mean? And it was incredible, because there was no one on the Friday, let's say, we were 30 of us. But on the Saturday, there were 200 people, and we didn't even know how to have to feed them, because we had prepared food and we didn't have enough. And these people were surprised and happy and ready to try to go further with us. And there are many little things like this taking place all around the world. And these little things that we do, it's not only that we have to do it, it's also that we have to think why we do that. Not just because I love theater and I want to play, I want to be on the stage, or I love music and I want to play my music. But because my music and my theater and my cinema and my writing and will be a permanent question to this system that we can't stand anymore, which is destroying the whole planet. We don't have money to repair we took straw and we put straw on the floor. We took grass, we cut the grass and we put grass on the floor, okay? And the singers sang in the grass, inside a building, but on the grass. The theater, the actors played their play on the straw, because we can't build a beautiful theater with a beautiful floor, wooden floor, and with all the money that it means. But we have to do small things like this and tell these people, well, all these things that are around us, that are our environment, are useful. and our water is precious. And so all these people who are doing all these little things around the world are necessary, they are important, and though we are in the system, we are fighting against the system. That's what I feel. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
We have another question from the audience.
Okay.
And this is the perfect way they are coming here so you can see them.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Gerty.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ukhona Ntsali Mlandu. I come from South Africa. I live between Cape Town and some village that none of you probably would have never heard anything about, called Goshen. And Gerty, I'm going to be honest, when I saw the statement that reads, white privilege is not a question of color, I was taken aback because it felt a little bit like it was trying to soothe the sensibilities of white people who live with privilege. But I appreciate that I could sit here and hear you kind of talk us through how it is that you said the statement. Because maybe in hearing this example that you just gave now, where yes, in wanting to understand your positionality, you were able to kind of recognize your own privilege, which is very much a privilege that you've had to earn, that is accumulated through a series of other violences that you've had to endure in order to be recognized in particular ways. But this example that you gave just now was important to me in making this point that yes, we can arrive at certain positionalities as black people and marginalized identities, but at the same time, compared to the intergenerational nature of white privilege and the fact that even the privilege that we would have by proximity and assimilation to whiteness, because there's an element of assimilation that needs to happen, mm-hmm. Parallel to that and very nearby is lack the reality that it can be snatched away at any minute. If you don't play to the tune, the white world that is centric to itself, that sets itself as a benchmark, can just like this remove that privilege. And so maybe, and not to shift your position to how I would view some of the privileges that you have in the world right now, your mobility, your social currency, in a way, to me, I would read it as some kind of reparations, a kind of reparations that still needs to be replicated and play out for many other people before we can begin to talk about it as being any kind of significant privilege. Because if you can talk to me about the fact that you were trying to feed people from your own money because you were trying to do something that you believe in, because those funds are not readily available to you to do those things, speaks to the ways in which the playing field is not leveled. So it's not necessarily fair to take this burden on of going, for the little privileges that you have, you now suddenly take on this idea that you move through the world with even with this example of the minister that you named, and I speak as somebody who's held some positions of power in institutions in this art space, and have felt and know, and I've lived the violence of trying to lead an organization in an art world that understands itself to be the I don't know the English word, but like to be the rightful place of whiteness. I know what it's like to be leading an organization and have people around me constantly needing me to perform myself in order for them to see whether or not I'm worthy of this position. And that goes into some of the conversations that come up when I'm speaking to my counterparts, even from the global south, but also in these spaces where they references, and I loved this example, these references of artistic canons, where I just look at them blankly and I go, no, I don't know. And I never feel the need to justify myself, because I'm like, you don't know the things. I'm here navigating your world, and I'm doing somewhat very well in it, but I also know of worlds you don't even know exist. And you think that you can set yourself as a benchmark for my value and what I bring to the space. I think I can say a lot here. I don't know if any of this is a question, but just my reflection. And yeah, I'll stop there for now.
Do Philae commenting upon these words?
Can I see her?
Yes.
Yes. Can you tell me your name again?
My name is Ukona.
Ukona.
Yes.
So, Ukona, what I want to tell you, first thing, I'm very happy to see you, because I know that I would not have been the only black woman in this conference. So thank you for showing your face on the screen. First thing. The second thing is, I know that my title would be, I knew it would be, what is she saying? Okay? So I wanted it to be just put there, and that we have to we have to think about it. You saw throughout what I said that I know that this privilege can be snatched out, as you said, at every moment. I know it, I can see it, but though there is this privilege of the passport, for example, that we must not forget, because every time you or someone else will take a plane to come to Europe, you will have a whole lot of questions to answer that I will not have to answer. Even though when I cross the border, they will probably put me aside and ask me where I come from and where I'm going and what is there in your bag and so on. They cannot tell me you can't move because my passport is French. So this is a privilege, and this privilege we must be conscious. We must be conscious also of the fact that it gives us the possibility to be terrible, to be unfair with our neighbors or other people living around. For me, in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, as French people, we have this terrible attitude of feeling that we are the best and that we are above these other islands, which are independent, while we are not. You see. And the last presidential elections, Arab people in Guadeloupe voted for the extreme right. Why did they vote for the extreme right? Because they are fed up with the immigrants coming from Dominica or St. Lucia or Republique Dominicaine or Santo Domingo. So we can behave like people having this white privilege and thinking that their economic situation, though they are the poorest French department, that their economic situation is better than the ones that are around them. So we must be very conscious of this and very careful about this to explain to our population that we are playing a game that is dangerous for the others, but that's dangerous for us too. Because when we accept these situations, okay, we accept the whole lot, and the whole lot is killing everything: plants, people, animals, and the rest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
we are coming to the end of this session. I would like just to inform you that except our dear colleague from South Africa, there are some other, but not a lot of them, I have to admit, black women in the room. And I would like to come back to the issue of black women, as a matter of fact, to conclude this debate. You said...
You mean as someone who is concerned with the matter?
Maybe with your help I would be more concerned with the matter. No, but you are in two streams of activism, as you said yourself, answering to my question, women's movement and on the other hand, a anti-racism movement. So I would like us to conclude with also a broader, how to say, theoretical or cultural context, which will be decolonizing feminism. So obviously your position is position, at least that's what I would say, position of a decolonizing feminism. And I have had many occasions in this last period to hear from feminists that the only relevant feminism nowadays is decolonizing feminism. Would you agree with this? And what is your attitude towards other streams and tendencies in feminism? Is there a kind of a serious clash between decolonizing feminism and other tendencies in feminism?
Well, there is a clash, of course. The first thing is the historical matter. That is the fact that the feminist movement is accused of not having been conscious of the situation of other parts of the society, black women or Asian or people from Maghreb. This is the first thing historically. So to tell you, in the 1970s, of course, we were already feeling that many things that concerned us were not taken into consideration by the feminist movement. That's why we created the coordination of black women. Anyhow, today there is a clash between inside the feminist movement. Anyhow, in France, I can speak of France. There is a clash, but as far as I am concerned, for me, decolonizing feminism, the first thing is decolonizing hierarchy also. So, in this hierarchy, for me, I think that I have to go away. I mean, I don't want to become the mummy, the mummy, I don't know how to say mummy, Egyptian mummy of the black feminism. We have to also understand that feminism, the most important fight for me is against hierarchy and domination, and the idea of hierarchy, and the idea that at a certain moment this theory is more important than that one, and that this attitude, this struggle has to be more important than the other struggle. How can we put the struggles together? How can we understand each other? How can we listen to one another and try to go together on the same path? This is my main question, and this is a question I raise with my younger, very much younger feminist friends, black feminist friends in France. Let's not duplicate or replicate the hatred. This is the most important thing for me today.
Thank you, Gerty. We are, as I have already said, we are coming to the end of this session. We should take care of the schedule. I think this would be a wonderful place to stop the session because it makes really a kind of a whole. But as we are fighting against hierarchies, as a male white moderator, I wouldn't feel very comfortable with not giving a last opportunity to somebody to ask the question. So there is a time and space for one more question, if there is one more question from the audience. Is there a question? Yeah. Yes, there is a question. Yeah, so we will finish with this question. And Gerty, thank you very much for being with us in this virtual way, unfortunately, but I hope next time it will be live, and you're always very welcome to the University of Arts in Belgrade. Thank you very much. And now our last, your last question. Pardon?
Hello.
Hello.
A very brief question, but I know that difficult to be answered. In 1963, there was a speech in Washington, I Have a Dream. And that speech, I Have a Dream, it was about the dream of racial equality. 200,000 people were there listening to that speech, and 20% were white. I guess today, if there is such a speech, there will be more than 20%, maybe 40%. But still, there is, let us say, inequality in people who struggle for having their dream and moving beyond their dream, and those from white people who support them. Still, there is a development. So my question is, what is your dream now? What is the world that you would wish to move to? Where would you like to arrive at? In 15 years, in 100 years, what is your dream?
Well, I don't know if you can. Today we can say we have one dream. I think that I can share the dreams of many different people from many different aspects, and that would be my answer, because I don't have one dream for everyone. This is the kind of thing that we must end with. The idea of one, the idea of unity, the idea of something, universal, whatever, because we are not one, we are multiple. So I think this is the first thing that I would answer to you, is that it is impossible that we could still be in the idea of one person or one group or one concept or one movement that would be the answer for everyone. I think it's impossible. I think it's impossible. And what I would love to see, what I would love is, I'm from the Caribbean, and so many ways of life, so many attitudes to nature, to what we call nature is the right word, to what is around us, our environment, have disappeared. And this is maybe what I feel most, is that something has been destroyed that we will never know again. It's not a dream. It's a regret. But I don't have an idea of a dream. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. it's a bit how to say, challenging to say, and makes us think about it, that you have more regrets than dreams, but I'm sure that we will find a way to live in the world of dreams and not only regrets. Thank you all, and
Yes,
hope to see you next time in Belgrade. And Milena would like.
Yes, I just would like to thank you.
I have dreams. I don't have one dream.
Yeah, that's clear.
For plurality of dreams, and we will come to you after the conference with all of our discussions results to keep you informed. If you can, you follow us online and so on. Goodbye and thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.